Yeah.
You get a countdown and everything, and then it just says go. And it just
you can
works.
also do a
live
deal at the end, Hayden. I don't remember how to do it.
Jim
did.
Okay. Well,
Jim forgot this morning too.
I'll rely on you to do that. Hello, everyone. We have a very special guest in today. It's obviously we got me and Tio, which is our normal crew on Ham Radio Nonsense. But we've got Ben from Ham Radio Rookie YouTube channel, but also VF Comms. So we're going to talk about your antennas and ham radio in general and all sorts of things because you got some pretty cool stuff going on. How are you?
How you know you're online too much is when people notice when you get your haircut.
Is someone? I get these comments as well in the chat all the time. Someone says, "Oh, Hayden's hair's on point today," or he's got a new haircut or something. You're right. Paying attention to too many close things.
They notice all the unimportant details, like the things you left out of the video on purpose.
Yes.
This is one thing, okay, just random thing, but like what drives me nuts is it would take YouTube it would take one line of code to be able to take a old video and do that one where you did the mono edit where your voice is only in one channel driving everybody nuts, right? And make it just mono across it. But no, will they do that? F no. I'm just like, because I'm not going to take the video down because it's doing too well. And it's like,
no, you lose all of the traction. Yeah. YouTube's kind of a pain. But then you keep getting all the comments about mono only. Like you didn't read the other 37 comments, people.
That being said, that's probably why they leave it up, because it does generate interest.
It does. It generates a lot of them.
Yeah.
So on your new camera, Ben, make sure that you do the firmware update because it only records in mono until you do the firmware update.
I already did the firmware update, but I got the little whizzy mic thing, so I'm pretty sure it's only going to be one channel to start with. And I'm just going to have to.
What's the camera? What's the camera?
The Osmos Pocket 3, so the DJI.
Yes, I got one of those too.
Well, because we're in the colonies, we can still order it, but DJI isn't shipping to the US anymore.
Yeah, we've still got exclusive access. That's one good thing. We should definitely do that in our next few videos. We should just record everything in left channel audio, but then what we do is when we switch a scene to show something else in the video, switch to right channel audio, and then we'll just alternate between the two.
This would be like the perfect way to bring the sad hams out. They would like lose their fucking minds.
Or what you do is when you have the PC if they've got a PC running or a laptop. And for some reason, they're only listening to one channel and then it just goes silent on them for some reason for a portion of the video and then comes back.
Make sure that you have a caveat at the beginning. Headphones on for best experience.
I don't know which one you clicked. Was it this one? Yeah.
We have
the editing software can fix it. Yes, but only if I notice it. And the problem that I have is my laptop speakers, my monitors on my editing station are this close to each other, and you can't distinguish left and right singularity over such for the entire length of the video, mind you. If it was odd for like 5 minutes and then even for another 5 minutes, you'd notice it, but the entire thing coming out of the the 11 inches on the desktop, you can't get it.
And those that are saying that you can edit that, we're all aware you can edit it. It really comes down to you're just crunching along and you just want to get that damn thing out because you've watched it 400 times. And it's just one of those buttons you forget to do. So if you were smart, which one day maybe I will be, is I'll set up a template that it just forces everything to a mono output. But I haven't done that yet. So,
there's only so much you can listen to yourself over and over and over again when you're editing videos. So
a 10-minute video takes about a day.
When people leave YouTube comments saying this guy must love the sound of his voice, no, we don't, because we have to keep listening to it all the time.
I just love receiving comments like this.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Oh dear. Well, tell us a little bit about your channel, Ben, because you started. How long ago now? It's been a little while. You've had your channel up.
Yeah. So let's say 2.5 years ago, went through a little medical thing, and I ended up kind of having to like just sit at home for a little bit, and figured, I always wanted to get my ham license, so did the study up and occupied my brain with that, and got my license. And I figured, well, I already do a YouTube channel on props and special effects from sort of my previous career. And with that, I figured, okay, I'll just make a ham radio channel and see what can come up of it. And I had a few people challenge me about using duct tape for an antenna. Just on a bet, somebody said, can you make a duct tape antenna? And I'm like, I think I can. And I put some copper foil on it. And,
not DUCK
yeah.
tape.
And
duct.
Okay, so no, it's duck. So the history of the tape is...
So the non-metallic tape.
Duct is metallic. Duct is metallic.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. But duct tape is the actual like DUCK, because basically it was an adhesive added to sailcloth, and that sailcloth back in, I can't remember if it's World War I or II, was Duke, but everybody called it duck.
Mm-hmm.
And so it became duct tape. And so at any rate, fight me on this one. I'll go to town on this one. I do know the history of it. Anyways, it's funny because that's one.
Oh, I'm not arguing the history.
Yeah. But anyhow,
no, it's the non-metallic
true.
tape.
So at any rate, you add copper foil tape to the inside of it, and you put a J-pole on it. And I found that you could roll it up and throw it in your pocket. And this was like the video where, like, I was doing some other videos, but that one just boom right out of the atmosphere as far as this small channel goes. I only had a few hundred subscribers. And then a little later, I was watching, oh geez, I can't remember his name, but the guy, the original Magic Carpet guy, oh geez. Yes, Michael. Thank you. One of these days I'm going to remember his name. I apologize, Michael. I really should know, but I don't. Anyway.
Is that maybe
yeah.
Michael?
Yeah.
So, and he was talking about using Magic Carpet and how conductive it was. And I thought, well, wait a minute, if that's conductive, I wonder if I could just replace the copper tape with that. And the reason is that copper tape being folded back and forth will eventually work, harden, and break, and then your antenna is useless, right? So I thought, like, this would be a great antenna just to play with, but it wouldn't last very long. And then, but if you decided to do it out of the Fara-J fabric, would that work? And I tried it, and it worked really well, like really, really, really well. And so I put a video up saying, hey, anybody interested in this? Maybe I could make a few. And, I was thinking like it would be coffee shop money for a little bit, and maybe get my YouTube channel to go up a little bit. And a year and a half later, which is now, it's my full-time job is making these antennas. And I'm working for government institutions, making these for search and rescue and for military and all this other stuff. And it's kind of crazy because, yeah, it just seemed like a no-brainer to me. So I'm also developing some other things using tape antennas instead of wire. These are definitely a QRP in the sense that lower than 250 watts, but there is an antenna I'm working on currently that will be able to handle a whole lot more. And I guess that's sort of the foundational, my origin story, the ham radio, I guess. But yeah, and I, in the past, I did a whole bunch of radio controlled cars and stuff like that for the movies. And I got known for robotics and some of the stuff I've done. So playing more on the commercial side of radio. And part of me getting into ham was, should I keep on in the movie industry? I wanted to be able to make some radios that were outside of the spectrum of everything else on set, because it's starting to get really, really crowded in some of those frequencies and you just can't get through. And if you're working with something that has to work every time and it's glitching out because, focus pullers across your line, it just doesn't work. So anyways, there, I'm done talking.
So, well, that would be pretty fun working in the movie industry, though, doing that sort of stuff. Like, is that sort of something you can talk about a little bit more? Like, what sort of stuff do you do?
Yeah.
There?
So, let's see. Go way back. I'm an aeronautical engineer, and I worked as a freelance engineer for I'd say 15, 17 years, something like that. I just go to my basement. I would fix people's problems, and while doing that, I'm the kind of person that when everybody else says no, I would go, well, let's see if we can figure it out. And I get hired for really stupid projects, and I have a pretty good rate of success, and broke some world records and stuff while I was doing this. But in the meantime, a friend of mine that works in the movie industry was working with a special effects supervisor, needed somebody to design some huge, gigantic rotating sets for a movie. And he didn't know who to get a hold of. So my name came up, and, basically he called me up, said, hey, you interested? Wouldn't tell me what the movie was, but that he would fly me out to Vancouver, Canada to check things out and see how things are going to go. And so I fly out there and I find out it was Star Trek Beyond is what I was working on, and my head exploded because, like, fanboy hell out of that, right? And then, so yeah, they gave me a couple of small projects to design up to see if I had the chops to do like 3D CAD stuff, which is where my true expertise is, but I can also weld and grind and build stuff as well, because I found that some of the things I design, there's a good chance that the machinist or somebody will go, that can't be made. And I know it can, and it will take me a lot longer than the machinist, but I just go and do it. With the special effects though, and props, a lot of those guys are exactly like me, and they're the ones who will take the design and go, I'll figure it out and go do it. So it works out incredibly well. Anyways, I did those rotating sets and some exploding spaceships and stuff. And apparently I did good enough that they just kept calling me back. So for the next 10 years or so, I did like X-Men or parts of one X-Men movie, Maze Runner, Death Note, let's say the last two Predator movies, Ghostbusters, a whole bunch of stuff, just, bouncing around. And yeah, it seemed like if people would say that can't be done, I'd be the one who got called. And that's sort of my career. Even doing things like car cannons and stuff. So flipping cars with people in them, making sure that the stunt people stay alive and stuff. That's incredibly nerve-wracking, like terrifying stuff. So like, do
you ever sit there when you got your hand on the trigger and you're like,
oh yeah,
I wonder if I screwed that bolt in properly so that the whole chassis is not going to come off and the guys going to go flying out.
There's times where it's like 3 minutes, you don't breathe, you're on the radio, you hit the button, the stunt is gone, the car is flipped, and you're waiting for the stunt coordinator to come over the radio and go, all clear, we're good. And you're just like, as soon as they say that, you're like, and then you go take your pants off, scoop them out. Because you end up being friends with a lot of these people too, like the stunt drivers. These are guys that are putting their lives on the line.
Well, they're trusting you.
We do, so they introduce themselves, make friends with you. Make sure that, like, if they end up leaving this world, they're going to make you feel shitty about it, which they should, right? So,
well, they're trusting you with their lives, so I guess that's a point.
Yeah. So, but nice. Like things like Ghostbusters and whatnot, where it's smaller and kind of whizzier and a little more intricate, that's a lot more fun. Wednesday Addams thing, we did a walking thing hand, and we scared people in New York and stuff with that. That was a fun project. Those ones are a blast because they're really, if the robot doesn't work, there's really no skin in the game. Nobody's really going to get hurt except, maybe some rich guy financially, and, screw them. So... Yeah.
So you're talking a little bit about. I know you briefly touched on what you were doing for becoming a ham radio operator. That you had a time where you were just like, "Oh, I'm going to go and do this." But do you find that a lot of your stuff with what you've been doing in your work then translates? Because I can see it in what you've been doing with your antennas, which we'll show off shortly. Mm-hmm. Do you find that you'll be sitting there one day and you'll just be like, how can I make this antenna, or how can I make this work? And then all of a sudden you'll just start drawing a concept diagram or something, or doing it the way that you do it. Like, how does it come from? Because this is one thing that T.O. and I are very interested in, is how innovative ideas come about. Like, do they just pop into your head? Do you just come up with them? Or does someone say, hey, I want to build this antenna. I don't think I can do it, but you probably can. Like, what?
In a very ham radio response, it depends.
Oh, yeah.
No,
not that it depends. Not that it depends. Nonsense.
For the most part. Who knew that screwing around as a kid when my dad's shop could pay off so well? That basically is like the genesis of it. And I grew up, I wouldn't say poor, but like definitely not, I wouldn't say, I would say very low middle class kind of thing. So we made a lot of the stuff. Like, the only way that you could go out and have like a really cool whizzy bike was to get an older bike and figure out how to make it look like a BMX or something like that. So, pulling wrenches and just screwing around, and like, my dad was willing to let me use power tools, and I kid you not, just about cut my finger off a couple of times, yet they still let me use the power tools.
That was just
how you learn.
For us.
and it also gives you a different viewpoint on the world. So I find that on the engineering side, and then even in special effects, is people will look and they go, well, here's an engineering story I had. Is I went to this one company and they wanted me to make a very high tensile pulley, something that was rated for something like 30,000 pounds. It would take 1/2-inch rope. And this was for a helicopter operation and stuff. And they went on, and I went into this one meeting with with the CEO and everybody at this one company. And by the time it was all done, I'm like, well, so you can pay me like probably $100,000 to design this for you, which is fine. I'll totally do it for you. Or you can go to the sales shop that is 3 blocks down there that have a block and tackle that's fully rated for everything that you need that you can go and get. I'll charge you for the hour that you've taken my time here at the meeting, but that's it. But the point is that everybody gets in whatever industry and they get locked into it's aerospace, and we can only use aerospace stuff, and they don't look outside and look at like, what about nautical, what about cars and stuff. And on an engineering point of view, there might be some new engineering approvals, so you might have to change the hardware, but the fact remains is that the wheel's already been invented. So just go look for the wheel. And that's one thing with special effects too, is in the special effects world, you spend an awful lot of time looking at ways to buy your way out of a problem. Like, they needed a remote control car or ghost trap for Ghostbusters, right? Well, first thing is like, well, let's just get an RC car and build a platform over it. And that's kind of a perfect example where it's outside of what normally would have been done, but you buy your way out of all the mechanics, the wheels, the bearings, radio controller, all of that's gone. Now you just have to make something pretty and put it on top.
Yeah, change the shell.
Yep. So, when you walk through a hardware store, don't go, this is in plumbing. Look at, that's a pipe. Can that pipe resonate? Is that pipe metal or plastic? Can the plastic be used as a capacitor?
Will it antenna?
Put stuff on either side of it. Well, this is one thing where I'm kind of playing with it, is that if you take a PVC pipe, you can put some Fara-J cloth or copper foil on the inside and the outside, and you have a capacitor, right? Well, and that capacitor can be just a few picofarads, which 9 times out of 10 is exactly what you want. So why people aren't throwing up PVC pipes with metal tape along it and then making integrated capacitors right along the whole thing to be able to give you all those stops for whatever frequency, I don't know. That's just, a thought in my head. It's one of those things that you got to experiment with. But even take a look at what is a capacitor. It's 2 plates separated by air or whatever, a plastic, some sort of medium. Well, knowing that is that you can do so many different things. One thing that I recently found out is that you can take Kapton tape, and Kapton tape, sorry, I just bumped the mic. Kapton tape, when you put it under like a little cheap laser engraver, will actually make graphene, and that graphene is conductive. And there's a lot of people out there that are making their own custom capacitors by just laser etching in very precise capacitors into the Kapton tape. But this makes for, because it's graphene, it can take an insane amount of power. It dissipates the heat incredibly well. And you can make it with hobby stuff and things that you buy off of Amazon. Like, we're talking $300 will actually get you in the game to build some of these things. So, yeah, I don't know.
And then
go ahead.
You learn, I suppose you also learn off what other people do as well. So you see someone will, make something out of something, and you think, oh, that's a good idea.
Oh yeah, you totally.
But I guess it's
the
best ideas are the ones that someone else has already done.
Well, you also got to, you got to be careful too. Like, you don't want to eat somebody else's lunch. You don't want to go like, well, like if somebody came out and said, hey, I'm going to make a J-pole and it's going to be out of this fiber or this Fara-J cloth, or I'm going to use conductive tow instead of cloth. is that it's innovating off of what my stuff is, but like, at what point is it sort of being a jerk about it and kind of trying to blow your own whistle on something you didn't do or something you did do? And I don't know. There's probably a whole bunch of times I'm sure there's a lot of people out there going, well, we've been doing the conductive fabric thing forever, and like, why are you getting credit for it? And it's not that I want credit for it. Right now, I would like to keep making money off of it, because the truth be told is working in movies is fun, but you're talking 12 to 16 hour days for 6 months, you probably won't see your family. Like literally will not see your family for months. And now I've got a job where I work during the day and I get to hang out with my family. My wife is less stressed because she isn't having to handle running the house on her own. So for me, that's, for me, there's a little bit of skin in the game as far as that goes. I have no idea where I was going with that conversation.
That's all right. That's all right. This is ham radio nonsense. Right. It can go anywhere. Yeah, cool. Well, let's bring up some of your, we'll bring up your website. Some of your amateur radio and other, I was going to say hobby antennas. I guess they are hobby antennas.
These are hobby antennas, and there's a back end where I do have some. We're slowly working out a more professional sort of back end for commercial applications, because there's like 156 megahertz. There's a lot of search and rescue teams and stuff use that. So I've made a few antennas for that and high vis orange and stuff, and they seem to be taking off a little bit. And me being ex-infantry from another lifetime ago, some of my friends, I remember working with the radio systems and they sucked, especially with these big cumbersome whip antennas. And I've come up with a modification to the antenna that they have, that they can just weave into their molly or their chest pack and be able to transmit on, because it's low enough power and you're not transmitting all the time. So the exposure is so minor that who cares if it's right up against you, as long as it's just not getting in your way, right?
Well, I've got this is the one that I got that you sent me. This is probably what the original antenna, I reckon, that you made. That was the Fara-J.
Yeah, for 2 meter Fara-J.
And like, I don't know, I did a video on this, but like this is. Let me try and get that in shot. This is super strong. Like, you'd be hard pressed to destroy this, apart from scissors. That's probably the only way that you're going to wreck it.
Yep.
And you can hang this up from, what's really good is the telescopic poles that you use when you're out. You can just, on the end, you've got the clip. You can just hang that straight over the pole, put the pole up, connect your coax here at the bottom where the BNCs, and people have already seen the QR codes down the bottom there for this antenna. But you can plug it straight in with the BNC, hang it up, and away you go.
Yeah, and questions that come up are like, how much power, is it waterproof, and all this stuff. So power, we tested up to 100 watts, and we haven't had any problems with that. It works like so far. I think what's happening is that you have all these fibers, and they might be running hot, but the fact is that they're also all exposed to the air. So there's so much surface area that can dissipate the heat so fast. I've done a FLIR look at a high like 100 watts into one of my antennas, and the only thing that hot was the feed point, and that was it. Everything else was like, you could see it warm up a little bit, but hardly anything. Then waterproofing, I found that like as is, when it's wet, it still functions. I'm sure that if you're in some bad area that's got lots of carbon up in the atmosphere and it's coming down in the rain, that it might short out your antenna, but it's unlikely. It does change the SWR a little bit, but it'll still function. But that's as easy as getting some waterproofing spray that you can get at a camping store, and spray it down, and you're good to go, or even maybe cover it in wax, who knows. But that's all it really takes for that. But yeah, it's interesting you talk about pulling it. I've been meaning to do this. I gotta get like a batch of my reject antennas. I want to see how many I can put together to tow a truck, and then slowly but surely take it down. See if I can tow a truck with my antenna.
I like the thing I like about this is that's the antenna scrunched up in my hand, and then I can just do this, and I can deploy it out. Yeah. So you can just literally throw it in your backpack.
Yeah, and it's about a little over an ounce, so like super heavy.
Yeah, the thing that I liked about this too was on your YouTube channel, you actually showed through the process of developing this. I like that when you actually showed like. What was interesting to me was this material and the stitching, and how you actually managed to stitch this onto that. What do you call this? The felt.
That's a gross grain ribbon. It's literally a hat band. It's a really thick hat band, or the stuff they use to wrap up presents and stuff with. But what's really kind of neat about some of this stuff is it is to a certain extent UV stabilized. At the same time, like I've got one that's been hanging out in my house for 6-8 months, and yeah, it's faded, but it's not falling apart. I'm pretty sure you get 2 years direct sunlight and you'd be fine.
Yeah. So these are of course you can add your call sign on them, like I've got mine that you did.
All the cool kids do that.
Thank you very much. Yeah, you got to do that. You got to get the call sign on there.
Yeah.
Now you do this not just for 2 meters, but you've got a 70 centimeter version as well.
Yeah. So I just recently added 1.25 meters. I finally caved, and my Autumn, who's my assistant in this is how big it's gotten. Is I've literally hired a part-time worker to help me with this stuff, and we're slowly but surely getting to the point where we're also going to put a thing on our site where we'll make custom antennas. I'm thinking anywhere from say 50 megahertz down is usable as a J pole. If you want something like 10 meters, yeah, we could make one, but it's at that point I don't
big.
Yeah, it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
It's too long.
Yeah.
But so that's and if we do that, then hopefully we can pick up some more commercial applications and stuff. But it's the way I've kind of kept the growth of the companies. I've actually suppressed it quite a bit in the sense that I would make a batch of 200 or 500 and even like to the point of 1,000, just so that I knew that I had stock. Because I always hate the idea that somebody would order and then, well, it's coming. And if I get hit by a bus or something, then your antenna's not coming. That's not fair. It either gets shipped right away or it doesn't. So that's that's a methodology I've had. But Autumn and the sort of network of sewers and stuff that we've worked out a system where I feel comfortable enough to go, I don't necessarily have to have the stock. And because of that, then making other antennas like 1.25 meters or for the 150 megahertz range and stuff like that becomes more feasible. So, and more colors and stuff. So we're working on it. It's slow, but my growth, I'm trying to keep it slow so that if anything goes south, it's manageable. I don't want to be kind of caught with my pants down, I guess. So.
So Hayden, real quick, this QR code you've got on the screen, we haven't talked about that. This is a new feature of the new streaming software that we've started using as of today.
It is.
Yeah. So if you're watching on your couch, you can scan it with your phone.
Yes, you can scan it straight away, and that'll take you to what we're talking about. These particular products, that'll take you to the home screen anyway, which is, we'll have on the home screen the Fara-J 2 meters, 70 centimeters, and 1.25 meters. Yep. So now, did you had a 6 meter one too?
Yep, it's right there. It's the blue icon. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then GMRS for the preppers.
Yep.
Yeah.
So now, not only I think you're from memory in your video when you were doing the development of this, you were saying that the hardest part was 3D printing the little BNC connector thing.
Oh, it was such a pain in the butt. Like, it made sense. Yeah, it made sense for the impatient ADHD person who wants it now. Yeah, you can build one and use some crimp connectors and stuff, and that'll work if that's what you have. But I also realize that if you use some, there's companies like JLC PCB or PCB Way, you can get PCBs done quite cheaply and sent over to you. And because of that, I can get the PCBs are done and soldered up entirely to my to my shop, and then it's just a matter of bolting it on. And that also made me realize, I'm very much into the do-it-yourself culture. If you're there's a lot of people out there that try to sort of hoard the knowledge, and then they also try to, you shouldn't be making this and don't copy me. I don't want you to copy and make a living off of it, because that's kind of my thing. But I also would encourage you to go out and make your own antennas. So the BNC connectors and stuff, you can buy those, and we can ship those to you so you can use them, because they're really quick. They screw in, and it's a really fast way to make an antenna. And I know that you can get the BNC with the banana jack ends on it and stuff. Those are just as good, but this one's just flat and streamlined, and I don't know. I like it mostly because I made it. I guess.
Great. Yeah, no, I think they're great. They're good.
Yeah.
They look like they could take a bit of abuse out in the field if you're using them in other, soda and stuff like that. Well, now you're holding up. We do want to get to this.
Yeah. So the thing is that the same BNC connector can be used for different antennas. Like you'll find that like slot antennas, if you do a feed point, you just do a break and then you put the feed point on there. Or if you're doing a Moxon, you do a break and you do that. If you're doing a dipole, you put a break and you do that. So these aren't, these are kind of like little universal connection points, but they're tiny. Again, they're more for the QRP, say less than 250 watts. I haven't really ever tried to put anything more than 200 watts through one of these, but I'm pretty sure at that point the traces might melt. But again, that's kind of where I'm shooting, right?
That'll make for an interesting video, though. How much power will it take?
Yeah. Yep.
So that antenna that you just showed, this is like one of your newest designs, isn't it? This is the Foxon.
Yeah.
So this
and
antenna,
it's a Moxon. Yeah. This one's the original prototype, and it's got a hairpin match that I've gotten rid of because I figured out how to actually do this properly, like do the elements properly. Originally, the first one, this one that I made, you can't see it, but that element is just slightly longer than this element, and I couldn't get it to tune up properly. So I figured I'd just throw a hairpin on it, and that worked. And so it at least kept me going or moving forward with the innovation. And then after I pulled my head out of my butt and realized what I did wrong, then yeah, you can make them quite easily. And they're like 1.1 to 1. And like I've gotten 200 kilometers out of them.
So what did you do in the middle? What did you do in the middle for the spreader? What's that?
Oh, it's a 3D printed. It's just a little here. Let me get this in here. Okay.
The joys of a tracking camera.
Yeah. So it's just a little 3D printed toggle I designed. And when I design things, this one's designed so that it can print. Like I try to design everything so it'll print flat and you don't have to have any supports. Even that little arch will print fine. And yeah, that's it. It's just a little 3D printed thing. Recommend that you use ABS or ASA because PLA, it's good and it'll work, but it'll get soft in your car on a hot day where ABS and stuff won't.
Yeah.
So fiberglass spreaders as well.
Yep. And they're just what 3/16 or 3/8? 3/16. So 5 millimeter.
Is it like driveway markers or something?
A lot smaller than driveway markers. You can buy packages of these things off of Amazon for like 16-inch pieces for like $10. So I'm also looking at like for the people that want to do it yourself, the video won't necessarily give you a step-by-step, but it gives you enough to know how to build one on your own. If you're already a do-it-yourselfer, then there should be more than enough information for you.
Right. Right.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
So the cool thing is because it's handheld, you can go horizontal or vertical. You could use it for fox hunts. You can use it for contacts. You can use it for soda. You could use it for PODA. There's a whole heap of different use applications for it.
I'm trying to get, so like I used to do like volunteer search and rescue in my hometown. I'm trying to get search and rescue guys are really interested in the J poles because you can throw it up into a tree, and it's really like under a pressure situation, just being able to throw an antenna up into a tree to get out.
Tactical.
Yeah. But if you're setting up like a base station or a temporary base station, the Moxon would make way more sense because suddenly you take all that power and put it one direction. I'm trying to convince them that this doesn't take that much time. You can throw it on a tripod and you'll be, off to the races. So, but it's also trying to break through this is the way we've always done it. So you kind of, in some ways, you're kind of battling that uphill, but at the same time, it's a high stress work. So I'm not going to tell them what they need to do. They'll do what they need to. And then maybe one day they'll discover that I'm right, which I always am.
Right.
Does it come with the the handle that you could see in that photo? I'm just trying to get the photo live.
Yeah, no, everything comes. This is all like all the pieces that you need, the screen, the spreaders, and then there's a little bag. It's a Tyvek bag that we got cheap that comes with it, and a little piece of Velcro to make sure you can tie off your coaxial cable to the handle, because I found that was kind of a pain in the butt. The coax would kind of flop around and stuff. Yeah.
I'm just trying to think. Have you thought of see, now I'm giving you ideas now to you'll be like, oh, I can do that. Have you thought about like a similar version?
A foggy?
Well, no, a similar version, but I'm just wondering if you could do it with 2 feeds for 2 meters and 70 centimeters, so you could use it for satellites.
That's one thing where Here's a question for you then, is that I've been looking at this, and if I put a 70 centimeter antenna on the inside of the 2 meter antenna, I know I can get the 70 centimeter to resonate properly, but is that 2 meter active element, even if it's not being active, is it going to screw up the forward motion of the waves? This is where I am a rookie. I'm really good at building stuff, but there's a lot of the technical stuff that I'm really missing. There's some pretty big gaps in my knowledge.
So this is where I bring in something like this, MMA. So I've got, I'm just trying to see if have I got a Moxon in here ready to go? I've got a 10 meter Moxon, similar thing. So what you can do is you can model the antenna in here. Obviously, this is the wrong frequency because this is 10 meters, but you should.
Well, put 6 in there.
You could draw the other elements and put the dimensions in that you have here, and then what you can do is you can go in and you can look at your far field plots and see what your plot actually looks like and see if it messes up.
And I've been really, really meaning to do that. And again, this is sort of the business I had took off so fast. I was caught unaware, and I spent most of my time building the business and making the antennas. Now that I have Autumn helping me with that, we're actually at a point where each day she's like, Ben, let me take care of that so you can do what you're best at, which would be innovating and learning the software. So I'm just on the cusp of being sort of released from the bear of the business that I've built, so that I can keep moving forward. And there's been a few family incidents and stuff. Like, I'm human, so there's been a whole slot. You know those years where you get like everything, wouldn't say goes wrong, but there's a lot of stuff going on, and that's this year. So I'm struggling my way through things, but I'm getting there, and I totally want to do that. I also look at some of these softwares, like they're great. Their interfaces and stuff. Being from the CAD world, a 3D CAD world, and high-end engineering stuff, it pains me to see the interfaces they have, because it could be so much better if you could, like, I can already draw like a 3D model of it. Then why can't I take that 3D model and import it into one of these software packages? And if somebody knows how to do that, please send me an email. I would love, because I've got 3D models of all of these. I just don't know how to get that info into the software, and I don't want to go on a spreadsheet and go, this is the XY, point 1, point 2, this is the element and stuff. Maybe that's me being lazy, but I would really like to be able to take the info I already have and repurpose it instead of having to recreate it. Yeah,
so a couple have been asking about the Foxon working as a SAT antenna. I mean, the problem is what we were just talking about was the 70 centimeter portion of it. The other thing that I've seen too is using just one feed, and I don't know whether this would work as a Moxon, but just using one feed, but having having the 70 centimeter elements on there as well. I don't know. I just don't know.
The thing is that you got to look at like hex beams and stuff, and even if you do have that big long dish, the elements are not that far apart given the wavelength. Like, they're effectively flat, and they are shooting through each other, and they do work. And somebody pointed out, like, build it and see what happens. And that's kind of what I've been doing. And maybe of late, because I've gotten some of these new tools and I'm starting to learn how to do the analysis, that I might be more in analysis paralysis instead of just building where I'm actually good. And, thanks for the kick in the butt, because they're absolutely right. It wouldn't take me more than like probably 4 hours in the morning to build one to find out if it works.
Well, Jody's just asked also about the Foxon. Do you publish the minus 3 dB response curves? Because he wants to know if it'll work just above the ham band.
I don't. The thing is I don't have any proof of something like that. I'll sell you the antenna and what I can show you that it's done physically, but the 3 dB response curve, I can't prove that, so I'm not going to say it has that. It should.
You need to get you need to start doing like field tests and stuff like that, and range testing and all that sort of thing, which is
exactly. And with some of the government contracts that I am bidding on, that the funding will be there for me to do that, but like currently it isn't. And again, this is one of those things where it's a business that kind of squirreled away from me so fast that I'm still trying to catch up on the business side of things to be able to get back to the creating side.
Oh yeah.
Right?
That's YouTube. Yep.
Chris asked that question. How does the Foxon compare to the Flaggy?
So Flaggy. Yeah, if you go back in my in my videos there, remember I was talking about copper tape, and I put copper tape on just a regular tarp, and the tarp I had was big enough to make for a Yagi Uda, and that one, they both work, I say, exactly the same. In fact, I really would start to hesitate to say that the Moxon could probably get a little further out. And the advantage to that is much smaller, much smaller. The flaggy is what I called it. So the Yagi was big. It was cumbersome. It would catch the wind. It was kind of a pain in the ass to use. So that was those are the lessons that you need to do, where you got to build something and find out what's wrong with it and build it right to the very end. Don't get halfway through the project and go, I could do this better. Don't finish the project all the way to the end, because there's all those other little mini lessons that you learn to the very end of the project. Then consolidate all those lessons learned into the next one, and you're going to find that you'll innovate a lot faster that way. That being said, is finishing off a project that you know is probably not going to be the final project feels like a waste of time and can be painful. You have to do it. You really do. You can save so much time by doing that. That would be sort of my design wisdom to anybody out there trying to build their own antennas.
Someone's just I'm just trying to get a picture of it.
And Chris actually lives, oh geez, like stone's throw from me, like literally I think about a 10-minute drive from me, and he's bought a bunch of my products. So Chris rocks. I love people that support and stuff, and when you go and talk to them, they're just as excited as you about an antenna. It's having that one-on-one actual people going, oh, this is great. It's like, yeah. So I appreciate you, Chris. Thanks, man.
Do you have you got any of these? The Mesh-tastic.
This is a good question. Is I did this as just sort of like a fun sort of tongue-in-cheek kind of thing.
And everybody wants one.
And it's here's the thing is that making an antenna and ironing it down to a tie is what I can do. Telling you how to program a seed controller with the Mesh-tastic system on it and put a battery on it. See, the other thing is shipping batteries is another issue. So that's the kind of product where if I had a larger manufacturing facility and the infrastructure to do it, sure. But like right now, no. I would love to make them, but they
just leave it, drop it in SMA, and it's an exercise for the user.
I guess, but here's the other thing is that maybe this makes me a bad person, but tech support on this stuff, it's not my microcontroller. I'm sorry you let the smoke out, but no, I don't want to deal with any of those emails.
Where did it go? There it is. Dave is actually from Seed Studios, and he can help you with the whole.
Yeah, and I've got a few contacts at Seed as well, and I get a lot of the stuff. In fact, I'm not sure if I should share this, but they're asking me to make some for an event that's coming up in the US,
right?
So that they can take it out to the event. But then, yeah, sure. I'm like, how many do you want? And they're of course going to want it on a discount because they're promoting me, which I get. And at the same time, it's eating away some of my time for doing other things where the Mesh-tastic's fun. It's not going to be something that will make me a lot of money. And I hate saying it, but like right now, I'm kind of chasing the larger dollar items right now.
Oh yeah, you got to eat.
Yeah, because it also, when you start up a company, things start going well, and then you realize R&D, and then you're paying for the infrastructure, like the warehouse that I rent and stuff now, and all this other stuff. Suddenly you have real bills that you have to really pay and you really have to hit, and that kind of stifles you from moving forward again. And it's like,
Kevin says, antenna purist here, compliments for referring earlier to a Yagi as a Yagi Uda. I always joke and say, look, we should just give Uda the credit where it's due and just call it an Uda. We'll just,
maybe
look at that Uda.
Yeah, if I make an antenna, I should just call it the Uda.
Call it the Uda. Because everyone will be like,
back to that having to eat thing. Nobody would be able to find it because nobody's searching for Uda.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Cool. What's in the works? What's the next few antennas that you've been thinking of, apart from the ones that we gave you today, the ideas we gave you today?
Well, Salty Walt just put out a video. It's quite controversial on the magic carpet, and I'm making a magic carpet that is like sewn edges with grommet holes in it, so that you can. I guess I should look at the camera, So you can put feed points here. So this would work on a 10 millimeter or 3/8 hole. I'm doing some testing with this to find out things like if the ground stake is in the ground and it's also part like electrically connected to the ground sheet. My understanding is that the magic carpet is sort of like one half of a capacitor, right? And the ground is the other half of the capacitor. So if you're sending a ground stake into the other half, then you're effectively shorting out the carpet. So is it making it less or more effective? I don't know. These are things that need to be tested. And there's a lot of things that I think should be kind of looked at with this and see how things go. Walt did one where he put the carpet on some sand, some salty sand and stuff like that. And it didn't work for him. And that's great. In fact, a wire out into the water or on top of the sand, that's where it should work. But I like that in the sense that it gives me a data point to kind of play with it. So at any rate, with that's sort of like the base of my whips that I'm making. So they're carbon fiber whips that I've got one that's 45 feet tall, weighs about 2 pounds. You can throw it in your backpack, and it's infinitely adjustable. Here, just give me a second. I'm gonna hopefully. This will probably show my messy shop or my messy office, but just give me one sec here.
Mess is a sign of productivity.
Oh, you're
just remember that.
We lost the track.
Good. We didn't see any.
So you've got these poles, but what's really kind of neat about these is everybody's got the squid poles, which are great, but they're not adjustable in the sense that you get it up this far. It's not going to just stay there. But with these locking collars, as you spin this tight, and suddenly it locks. So now I've got a 45-foot adjustable whip. And yeah, it weighs a little more than stainless steel and stuff, but this is a lot more durable than a lot of those other things. And that's kind of where I'm heading right now, is just trying to figure out the supply chain for a lot of these things. And then how to how much Fara-J fabric needs to be on the outside, how to attach it so that it's permanent. Like I've got one in my backyard. It's been there for 8 months. So we've got rain, sleet, really bad hail, snow, the whole bit, and these things haven't peeled off, but they will eventually. And I want to find out what time that would happen. Otherwise, like how to do an epoxy coat over this to make it a more permanent element. Then another sort of side note is that you have carbon fiber is conductive, and yes, it does affect the antenna, but not as negatively as a lot of people think. As long as you have a path of least resistance or something like the Fara-J tape, the RF path is still going to go along that, and you're still going to be able to get out. This whip that I have in my backyard at 100 watts, I've gotten to Australia. So that's 14,000 kilometers. So it's effectively halfway around the planet. So they do work. But the problem is that this is what I've been thinking is that you can take 3 of these and effectively make sort of like a DX commander with no wires, but just 3 poles going up at 3 different elements. But is there a way that you would be able to take this and make it smaller so you only have 1 pole to go up? I know this is a long story, but bear with me. Problem with that is that if you put 3 elements onto carbon, because it's conductive, it doesn't work. This works as a single element. It doesn't matter how many pieces of conductive tape you put along it. It will still resonate at whatever length it happens to be at its full length. But glass fiber is different. So I've got a glass fiber pole where I've got several elements on it, and it'll be a single pole, be like a POTA element, but you'll be able to get 40 on down to 6 in 1 pole that you just put up with the ground cloth, and effectively you won't have any wires other than your coax, and that's kind of where I'm shooting. Whew, there you go.
What do you do with do you do radials then? Is that a quarter wave? So what do you do for that?
Sorry, say that again.
So,
carpet.
The carpet.
Oh.
You're using the carpet for your radial base for your
Yeah.
Yep. Your ground plane.
And I've yet to really because I'm lazy and ADHD. I want everything now, and that's it's a me issue, but I'm pretty sure it's common. So messing around with counterpoise wires pisses me off.
It's called Gen X.
Totally.
Yeah. It's not unique to you. All of us are like that.
Yeah. So, if you start taking a look at the magic carpets and stuff, there's been quite a few people. One of my last videos shows geez, I can't remember the guy's name, but he did a really good study on using Faraday fabric and chicken wire and everything else on top of the ground, and dry ground versus wet ground versus area. And he's found that like there's a certain square footage that works really well. It doesn't really matter how long it is. Although I would like to be able to play with that a little bit. I'm actually thinking of taking, instead of having a rectangular piece of Faraday fabric as the counterpoise, is I'm thinking I would make like 3 pie-shaped pieces of Faraday fabric. And that way, you, excuse me, I got a frog in my throat. That way you'd be able to use them as directionality and be able to start pushing the wave a certain way. Because if you look at Simon out in Vancouver, so Ham Jazz, he's done it where he's taken effectively a Mylar sheet and he uses that as the magic carpet, but then he brings it up almost vertical against the antenna, and it's basically just a broadside wave. He's using it as a reflector. I'm pretty sure you can do the same thing with this stuff. If you're using those pie-shaped pieces, then you can maybe get some really, really good forward gain under certain circumstances. So
B. Williams got an interesting thing about a phased array. What would be good is putting 3 of them up with not as a vertical, but if you fed the middle of one of them, so the middle element, if you had 3 of them, you could space them out and you could create effectively a Yagi that's mounted on the ground. So like imagine a 40-meter Yagi or something. Obviously you'd have to point it. You'd have to put it out in the direction that you actually want to. It's not really going to be rotatable, but at least you get a bit of forward gain on 40 or 20 or whatever, whereas rather than using a big Yagi, it'd be vertically polarized, but that's all right.
A what?
Oh, have you? Yeah, we've lost your audio. I think we've lost audio both ways. Can't hear.
Can't hear you.
He's
there we go. Sorry, I hit mute so I could cough, and then forgot to unmute myself.
Sorry, we're talking about Yagis.
Yeah, but so then look at you're looking at doing like Yagis or phased array. One thing that I want to do is that if you look at slot antennas, so John Porchin did the slot box for 2 meters and stuff like that, and I've done a whole bunch of testing on these slot antennas. One thing I think will be kind of neat is that if you took a 45-foot whip and you put 2 side by side and you bridge them at the top with a wire, at the bottom you should be able, or not at the bottom, then you have to bridge it at the bottom as well. And then somewhere halfway, or not halfway up, I'd say generally it would probably be about 6 feet up, is put a feed point in, and you'll be able to find a 50 ohm feed point without any ununs or balance or anything like that. And you just have to be able to move the feed point and then adjust the length. So then you're doing 2 verticals, but because it's a slot antenna, it's being fed this way, it'd be a horizontal. So I think what you'd end up with is basically a dipole that's 20 feet off the ground, that you could have like a 40-meter dipole at 20 feet off the ground. If you're trying to do something like that for like SOTA or POTA, I think that would be a pretty interesting challenge, because if you're already up high, especially in SOTA, and you do something like that, I think you're going to start hearing reflections of your own voice coming around the backside.
John's got a good point about using it as a parasitic design. You could rotate it easy by changing just the outer 2 and not the middle feed, which would be a lot easier too, because then you wouldn't have to mess around with changing the coax and doing all that sort of thing. But then also the ideas that you've got with the slot antenna and the other stuff, that'd be really cool to do. So that do those poles come in, not the carbon fiber, but the other version? What did you say? The fiberglass? Do they come with the locking nuts on them as well?
I haven't been able to find any like that. So that's a supply chain thing, where this is one of those where I need to build one and find out if the fiberglass works. And then I'd probably 3D print the locking nuts and stuff that I would need, or maybe get a local machinist to help me out making some of those, to be able to make it adjustable, and then find out if it's worth it or not to actually, move forward with that concept. The problem with that one I could see is that, like, say you have 3 elements on the fiberglass and you have a single pole that's basically like a DX commander, is that if you adjust one element down, you're adjusting all 3. So all 3 have to be tuned almost perfectly at one point in time. Then if you're adjusting the whole thing, it should adjust all 3 at the same time. But it's one of those risky endeavors where one might need to shorten half the length, like the 20 meter might need to shorten 12 inches, or the 40 meter has to go 24. And you can't do both of those at the same time if they're all the elements are on the same sleeves, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, cool. Well,
But
it sounds like you've got a lot of experimentation, a lot of not a lot of time to do it as well. But it sounds
that's part of ham radio,
to
though.
play with. Tell me about it.
Yeah,
like we was just saying the other day, weren't we, Tio, that we've just got all these projects, but not enough time to do any of them.
Right. Every single one of these boxes has like 5 videos in it.
Yeah.
And the problem
as soon
is
you
that
add videos, as soon as you like, you want to experiment, but as soon as you add videos into it too, it just takes forever.
Well, and that's why I bought this little Osmos camera. Is it? No, it's not going to follow me anymore. It lost the track. But like,
I think
it's one of those where I've got like a really good high-end camera and stuff like that, but it's a pain in the butt to set up. I'm starting to go, you know what? Drop the video quality, but as long as I can just press go and move forward, then that's exactly what I need. Because you're right. Everything takes so much more time, and then you're in the middle of a build and you're doing it and you're in a flow. Then you realize you didn't record it and you're like, damn it, and then you have to go back and redo it.
I bought the Pocket 3 for the exact same reason, is because I wanted something that I could just plonk down on the desk and just press record, because as like this camera here is a good high-end camera. I bought a second one of these, but then you got to set it up, you got to do all the things and do all this other stuff. It's just too hard. I just want to press go because I need to get to the actual filming of things.
And
so I guess
the Pocket does well, I might actually sell off all my gear, including like a video mixer and ATEM and stuff, all that other stuff, to buy just another Pocket.
It's probably a little bit like that with the antennas. So sometimes we can sit there and theorize about look at the theory and I can't build this, or I need to do this perfectly or whatever. But I know when watching your videos, especially with the Fara-J, when you first began, you must have gone through several different demo versions that you just weren't happy with, and you progressed and you eventually got to what you've got to now. So if you're building your own antenna stuff, it just takes time to get to that point.
Well, it does. And the other thing too is, excuse me, hay fever is kind of kicking up here. The other thing is that I also think with your videos, especially like you're saying, I kind of show you the progression of start to finish to the final product. I think you need to show that. There's a lot of times where you'll see something and somebody goes, this is what I built and it's amazing. But what you don't see is a 6 month of innovation behind it. And that's where the learning is, right? That might be something where you trigger off somebody else and they're like, oh my God, I've got such a great idea. And then they start up something else. I want to get other people moving and moving forward. I wouldn't say that like ham radio, you always have the sad hams of the people going, ham radio is dead and people aren't experimenting. They are, you just don't see it. But
because too many people complain and they stop experimenting.
But if you feel that way, then go out and encourage people to do that. Go to a club meeting and make a contest where you give them a box of stuff from the dollar store and go make an antenna. And I'm going to drive, 15 miles away. First person to make contact with me wins this handset, and, some of us, we get handsets to review on our channels. Then take that handset and make it so that some of the new hams go out and start playing with the stuff. Because if you don't show them that it really is as easy as sticking a wire into the top little tiny hole of your HT, and don't worry about letting the smoke out, that yes, you can totally make an antenna, and it is that easy. So go out and innovate and experiment, Well,
that's the whole fun in doing everything, is being able to experiment, but then also being able to make something that actually does work.
Oh, totally.
And even if it doesn't work, then you learn why it doesn't work, and then you work out, what you need to fix or what you need to do in the future.
Yep. And you can also put it on YouTube, and then somebody's going to tell you how you're the most wrong person on the planet, and worst case. Although this is one of my favorite stories. When I'm first starting out with ham, I'm literally like a couple months in, and I make the duct tape antenna, and I'm talking to somebody on a repeater, and I'm saying I'm going to take duct tape, I'm going to put copper foil on it. I'm talking about as if I'm going to do it, not that I already did it. And the guy's like, it'll never work. Don't waste your time. And I'm like, but I'm talking to you on it right now.
Right.
Yep.
So many times.
Yeah.
I'm trying
I also
to
see that Vince is here, V6LK. Vince is like, oh my God, such a lovely man. You ever need any help, just ask Vince, and he's always got a solution for you, or at least some advice in the right path to go down. So
Vince is a legend. I met him when I was over there at Hamvention. So Vince is great. He was my bouncer at the he'll know what that was. In the there's a photo of him with the glasses on, just standing in the background with him and Kyle standing behind me. It was really funny.
Did he have the earpiece in? So he's just like
attached to his bell thing. Yeah,
probably close enough. Yeah.
Yeah.
We've gone through, and I've forgotten there was supposed to be a story that I was going to tell on the stream, and I've forgotten what it was now.
Something about being a criminal.
Oh, it was at the very beginning, right. And
yeah, I remember now.
You do?
We were talking. We were talking about. Because we got a few Canadians in the house, and then we were backstage. We were talking about Australia and
Should I leave
Canada.
Now?
Yeah, you can leave. And we're talking about how, you got Commonwealth brothers. I said, because what we can do is we can gang up on TO. But then you mentioned about, I said, I think TO said something about, oh, you're all criminals. And I said, can you imagine?
No, that was Ben. That was not me.
Oh, was it? Was it? I said, can you imagine?
I know Australians. I don't want to get beat up again.
I said, can you imagine if you were in the UK or in Britain back when they were sending all the convicts out, and they're like, where can we send them? And then they said, right, we're going to send you to Australia. And then they arrive in Sydney to beautiful beaches, lovely weather, lovely, and they're like, yeah, I think I can handle this. This sounds like a pretty good place to go for my punishment.
Yeah, at the same time, you look at a plant the wrong way and you get a rash.
Right. Well, yeah. Or you get eaten by a shark or something because you've been swimming outside.
I prefer New Zealand. They have no natural predators except for wasps, I think.
Yeah. I don't think. Yeah, they're pretty tame. They don't have.
Yeah, they're weak. Okay.
No. See, I bet it's one of the things. So I went hiking in New Zealand when I was there, and it was kind of, I guess, like, we don't really worry too much about it here. We do pay attention to make sure that we don't get bitten by snakes or something like that, because it's more snakes that are hidden that you don't see and you tread on them. That's the problem.
Yeah.
But at least when we were hiking in New Zealand, it was like, oh well, this is good because we're not going to get hurt by anything because there's nothing to actually hurt us. So
no kangaroos coming out to punch you in the face.
Oh no. I always love that. So I think people ask you all the time. They're like, "Oh, do the kangaroos? Do they jump on the buses?" Yeah, sure. They're all there all the time. Yeah, and the koalas, they drop out of the sky, and
that's why you got the rhubards on the front of the ute.
That's just to protect the car
from
the kangaroo.
In high school, we did a trip down to the U.S. and I remember going down there, and it was like, it was just it was the end of fall, and somebody was asking like how cold it was and if it was 8 feet of snow, and we're down in like Oregon, so this is like effectively pretty close to our weather, maybe a little less cold, but for the most part the same. And my buddy of mine's like, oh yeah, we got to get back and brand the penguins, and then I'm howling because I'm like, penguins live on the south of the equator.
Yeah, at least we don't have moose here, because I imagine running into kangaroos bad enough, but running into a moose on the road, like that's serious, but seriously bad.
Moose are rare. The ones you got to look out for is the cobra chickens or the Canadian geese. They're evil, dude. You have no idea. And elk.
Oh, don't worry. We have geese. Geese are terrible. They're just horrible creatures.
Yeah. And here's the thing: is if you come to Canada, bears and moose and all these, a lot of people are all worried about that. Things you got to look out for are the elk. The elk are, they're evil. They're to the point where there's videos of it where they'll knock somebody down for doing something, but then they'll run away, and you think that's it. No, they're going to come back and make sure they finish the job. Like they will make sure you are like gone before they like. So do not mess with elk. That's my biggest Canadian advice.
Don, devils are the most placid little things. They're they're scavengers for starters, so they're not going to attack you for no apparent reason. Although I've got some cameras, security cameras set up at my parents' house. They live, in a rural area, and this Tasmanian devil, wandered past. They sort of hop past, not like a kangaroo, but they kind of like waddle past. And the poor thing, they're suffering from this facial tumor disease, so their face is like all puffed out and stuff, and this poor thing had that, so which is a little bit sad. But one of the things I thought about with is I see Steve Goodgame when he'll post like a bear, like a black bear or something in his backyard. And I'm like, we've got nothing to worry about here. If you're worried about coming to Australia and you're worried about getting eaten alive by all the creatures, we don't have bears, at least in our backyard. So,
but and you're talking about Australia sort of being like a prison camp for England is the other thing a lot of people got to realize too. And maybe it's not something I should brag about, but being ex-infantry is that a lot of people don't realize that the Geneva Convention was written because a bunch of Canadians kind of went nuts during World War I, which is kind of unfortunate because you don't piss us off. We're friendly, and like if you step on our toe, we'll say sorry to you. But push comes to shove, no, don't do it.
It kind of happens our way down here too. We're pretty laid back, but we do get a little bit irate at times, and we're not afraid to tell you about it either with certain words.
Yep, exactly.
The C word.
No, we don't use that.
The one you speak on the ocean.
Yeah. See, now I'm getting compared to Ewan McGregor, and also looks like Callum. These are all like, this is awesome. Thank you. I not that I have a little self-esteem, but I've never seen myself as a good-looking man. So that kind of like, ooh, maybe
if
I have a chance.
Someone called me Obi-Wan Kenobi, I'd be happy with that. Like, just
exactly.
All right, Ben. Well, we're past the hour, but thanks for coming on. And for those, go to your website, Ham Radio Rookie. We linked it in the chat earlier on, and vfcoms.com, vfcoms.com to get some of your antennas, which are great. And you've got plenty of stock. We with our Toads DI boards that we've been doing, Tio and I, that's the one thing that we've been trying to make sure that we have them in stock.
Exactly.
Actually, speaking of that, Tio, you've got news on that front.
I do.
You've got news on that front.
Members, if you're watching, and you've probably already seen the link, you get a 20% discount on the DB6. Y'all get first crack. There's special links in your inbox and private members areas and all that kind of stuff because they arrived this morning and they are ready to go out tomorrow morning. So get in there quick because everybody else has already seen it if you haven't seen it yet.
And you've got more. You've got more coming. You do have more.
I do. Yep. But members get first crack at it with the 20% discount.
Yep.
Nice. So make sure you get your membership first. Pays itself off.
Yeah, definitely.
And I've still got a couple of boards left. I've got to get some more stock in though as well. So
yeah, and this is the daughter board that has the 6-pin connector on it, so it will connect to your Yaesu, ICOM, and Kenwood radios and anything else that has that Mini DIN 6. If you've got one of the newer Yaesus with the Mini DIN 10, I've got a link for you. It's called the CT Charlie Tango 164. And that will convert the 6 to the 10 without anything, in between. You just plug it in. I mean, like no conversion box. I mean, you still need a 6-pin cable.
Yeah, a straight through cable. I know a lot of people have been buying them though, and rather than using them for like a Yaesu or an ICOM or a Kenwood or whatever, have the 6-pin connector. They make their own, which it'll work for as well. You've got all the connections to make your own, so that's the good thing. All right, guys. Thanks again for joining us, Ben. That was great. And we look forward to seeing some more of your antenna designs popping up soon.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well, thank you. And I'm going to have to get one of these boards from you guys. It's one thing. I'll talk to Tio offline here.
Yeah.
Tio's good at being offline, aren't you? So
only temporarily.
It's the only thing that you do.
That was entirely not planned, but well played.
All right.